Welcome back to the Tangent. We are back again doing Pokemon.
Yes, sir.
Again, Harrison isn't here. Had other stuff to do. But we have Devin and Tim and James, and yeah, we're here.
In the Pokemon world, we're in the wild lands.
Yeah,
hunting for Pokemon right now
in
as
the
we
wildlands
speak.
hunting Pokemon. So this episode, instead of getting off on multiple tangents, we'll probably get off on our tangents, but we're going to try to stick to the Pokemon subject a little better. But we're going to go ahead and do just the video games. Last time we talked about the card game a little bit. We talked about the animated series a little bit. So this one we're going to go through the game. So we're going to start all over. All the way to the beginning with Red and Blue.
Alright.
Right.
Broken AF.
Red and Blue were the ones that I played. I played a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I mean a very little bit of Yellow.
Yeah.
Because Yellow came out after Red and Blue came out.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that much after Red and Blue.
It was like a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So-
97 or 96 is when Red and Green came out in Japan, which green is blue.
I'm pretty sure it was 95.
And it's 96, I think. But
Oh, we got him in 96.
I didn't think we
I
got
don't know,
them until
usually
later.
whenever you look at the Game Freak thing, it says 96 to whatever year it is now.
It's a possibility.
So,
Because I
think.
I didn't make it to California until 98,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember even getting into Pokemon until 6 or 8 months after I got there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 97 when we got the games, and then Yellow came out in 99. I know that for sure.
So, but either way, so Red and Blue, did you guys play them?
Oh, yeah.
All the way through?
For me, I didn't really jump into like the next gens or I was on Red and Blue for a long time.
Yeah. So, my first Pokemon game was Red.
And you did that on the old brick too, right?
Yeah, the old gray brick Game Boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I played Red, eventually got Blue, eventually got Yellow, and then I got out of Pokemon after that. I didn't realize that a second generation had even come out for a long time.
Yeah.
Like,
I knew they had come out. I knew the games were released, but I was kind of out of it at that point.
yeah.
I was probably already broken up with her, and I was kind of in my own little world at that point because I went through a dark time.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew the second and third generations came out when I came back from California.
Well, I
Around
kind of
03 or so.
Yeah,
I
03 is
kinda-
when
I kinda-
Gen 3
I
came
kind
out,
of skipped Gen 2, but I got reintroduced during Gen 3 when a buddy of mine got me a copy of Leaf Green. So,
Oh, okay.
right. So I didn't get into Ruby and Sapphire. I got in at Leaf Green and Fire Red.
But those were just remakes of Red and Blue.
Right, which was the big appeal. Is like people in my age range at the time. We were like sophomores or juniors in high school. So it was like big nostalgia for like when we were kids and played Pokemon. We got to play Gen 1 again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a killing for. I basically just played between. I didn't have every game from like I had Red, Blue, and Yellow, but I didn't have like Gold. I only had Silver, and I didn't have Crystal. So like I just had Silver. And I would kind of just go back and forth from playing a game through those 4 games. I'd play a game on Silver.
Gold and Silver were Gen 2s?
Yeah, Gold, Silver, and Crystal are the Gen 2 games.
Mm.
And I enjoyed Silver because it had the, more. It had so much more content because even in if you've played the remakes, you know that there's like the 16 gems that you get in that one instead of 8. So like after you beat the league in gold and silver, you get to go back to Kanto, which is where Gen 1 takes place, Red and Blue takes place, and beat all those gym leaders too.
And then
afterwards you get to face Red, you from Red and Blue.
Interesting.
Or at least like a generally close idea to what his team would be, because Red from the game, the character that you're playing, is loosely based on Red from the Pokemon Adventures manga.
Okay.
So it kind of the team that he has in Gold and Silver is loosely following the team that he would have based on Red from the manga.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember his team. It was all 3 of the starters.
Yeah,
right?
It
was the 3 starters: Pikachu, Snorlax,
right.
And what was his 6th?
I think in that it was Espeon, but I think in Heart Gold and Soul Silver they changed it to Lapras.
Okay.
But so essentially, if you played through the games, it makes perfect sense. If you played through Red and Blue, you know you get, or think of it as you played through Yellow. You know you start with Pikachu, and then at one point they give you all 3 of the starter Pokemon. So you should have Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur, and then there's 2 opportunities that you get to catch a Snorlax, and then they give you an Eevee. Also, they give you a Lapras. So, essentially, it's just based on the important Pokemon parts that they gave you in the game.
Right. It's the starters plus the blockade Pokemon, and then Lapras, I think, actually makes more sense because it's a big traversal Pokemon that you actually require in order to get around.
Right.
Like, having a flyer is useful. Having a surfer is necessary.
Right, but I think in the remakes, they kind of based it more on, like, the game itself, but in the original they based it more on the manga because that's Red's team exactly at one point is Pikachu, Espeon, Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard, and Snorlax. And actually, if you have read it or at least are familiar with the story of the manga, like the Charizard's not actually his Charizard originally, and neither is the Blastoise.
Although, that actually brings up a good point. We talked a little bit last episode about Gen 1 and the differences in how the power curve worked and what Pokemon were good that may or may not be considered good these days. One of the big ones, Snorlax. Snorlax was a powerhouse.
Snorlax is still kind of a powerhouse, but far less so than he was
Snorlax
originally.
is good in his tier, and especially in like Gen 2, when you had like I think what was it, Curselax.
Yeah.
And then Gen 3 when you got Crunchlax, then you had your power moments with Snorlax.
Yeah, definitely. He's a very great Pokemon to have on your team.
He seemed very tanky. Was he still tanky?
He's
defensive. Like
he was a
barrier.
He was a defensive wall.
Yeah, he was a defensive wall, and he has insane offense too. Like, and his crit ratio is pretty high, also.
But I still on my current day teams, I still have Curse Crunchlaxes that are rip roaring and ready to go to just set on a team.
Hell yeah, that's a good competitive set.
Honestly, whenever you have like the battle trees and the battle facilities and all that stuff, I usually make sure to have a Curse Crunchlax sitting around as one of my members of the team, and I think it was Sun and Moon. I had a Curse Crunchlax, a Gliscor, with Poison Heal.
Oh, nice.
And my number 1 slot was always my sweeper. And I would rotate between either Kangaskhan or Salamence.
There you go. With the Mega Evolution, I assume? Yeah, definitely.
But when they took down, Kangaskhan's Mega Evolution a bit, Salamence ended up being a little bit better.
Yeah, they nerfed it pretty hard, didn't they?
After...
It wasn't a huge nerf, but it was just enough.
After Gold, Silver, and Diamond, It was Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, and shout out, I don't know if he listens to the podcast, but I'm pretty sure I invited him to our Facebook page. But shout out to Mike White, because if it wasn't for you, I would have just stayed on Gen 1 for my entire life. But I had a buddy that was, like, in one of my classes. I think I was in, like, 5th grade, and he had Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, and he was playing it, and me and him became pretty good friends, and he's just like, hey, here, and he let me borrow a freaking Game Boy Advance SP in Ruby, and I played the freaking crap out of that, and that's when, like, the fun competitive part of Pokemon was born
In you.
in me, because, like, yeah, the battle towers, and, like, that's when a lot more people actually started getting into...
Was that the Battle Frontier?
Yeah, Battle Frontier and Emerald was... Yeah. A lot of people, like, actually started to get more into Pokemon than they were before, because I didn't really know a whole lot of people that played, like, the Game Boy games, like Gen 1 and Gen 2. But, like, as soon as Gen 3 came out with Ruby and Sapphire and Leaf Green and Fire Red a couple years after, everybody was really, really back into the Pokemon scene of what I was seeing.
Endgame content has become such a big thing with Pokemon. So, like, Gen 1's endgame content was basically just...
Go catch Mewtwo?
Yeah, it was go catch Mewtwo and build up your team and go battle your friends. That was it.
And catch them all, right? As always.
Yeah, catch them all.
And then,
there's not a whole lot to it.
Yeah, Gen 2's, like, after game was ridiculously good.
But then after you finish that, there wasn't a whole lot left to do except also build up Pokemon and go battle your friends.
So that's the thing about Pokemon to me, and why I wanted to discuss it. Mainly was because if you really look at every generation when it came out, you could tell when Pokemon started to go away for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nintendo would bring out the next generation.
Yeah, they're trying to
Pokemon
keep it
would
relevant,
just
and they're
boom
doing great.
again.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, for instance, like right now with Sword and Shield and Pokemon Snap and the new game we were talking about earlier, Pokemon Unite, these games are coming out and Pokemon's huge again.
Yeah.
I mean, got new animes out. You got new, games coming out.
I mean, when Pokemon Go came out and Pokemon got super big again, it never really went back down. Like, it's had its fluctuations, but it never went back down.
Yeah,
down.
no, yeah.
Yeah,
just
because
sort of
there's still
stayed
people
in the
I
same
know
area.
that continue to play Pokemon
Even
Go.
people that don't play Pokemon Go anymore, some of them kind of carried over their reborn fandom of Pokemon into the new stuff that they've done with outside of Pokemon Go with Pokemon.
Right.
I know a lot of people that now play, like Sword and Shield or whatever other games that are like, wow, this is amazing, and like they hadn't played Pokemon since like Gen 1.
Yeah.
And they hop back on because of Go, which honestly is the most like stroke of genius thing that Pokemon's done for themselves.
Oh yeah, I don't know who came up with that or where the whole concept of Pokemon Go came from.
We were
but
like,
Jesus Christ,
all of the world was like so united for that one summer.
Yeah. That was the summer of Mon.
I saw something that
everybody.
I think it was like a month ago, and somebody was just like, yo, this is like the opposite of that Pokemon Go summer we had in 2016.
Yes.
I was like, except it's an entire year so far.
Right.
Yes. But I mean, I do remember in 2016 when it first came out, I was like, it's Pokemon. I wasn't into it, but
and then
my ex-wife at the time and you and my son, you guys all started playing. So I was like, yeah, I'll hop on. We'll see what's going on. Next thing you know, we would take family trips downtown St. Charles or find places with big numbers.
Find random parks or whatever.
And I swear to God, I would never thought to walk around a park with that many freaking people staring at their phones.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
boy, I tell you,
everybody is staring
those
at their
first
phones.
couple of weeks of Pokemon Go, and I was working overnights, so a lot of my deal was done like
first thing in the morning.
Honestly, a lot of the time, if I didn't have to work, I would be out all night And like,
oh yeah, and then they
I remember my first late night walk playing Pokemon Go.
I got blind to like dangerous situations because I think I was like driving through town, or through like I think it was on like Highway Z.
Yeah.
And like where that helicopter is all over there.
Okay.
On Z. There was like a Pokemon stop, and there was a lure there. And I was just like, yo, let's go stop at this lure and get a bunch of Pokemon, because lure brings rarer Pokemon, and that was still the beginning, so I didn't have like everything that I do now.
Right.
And then I thought about it. I'm like, wait a second. It's like 2:30 in the morning. Am I about to get kidnapped? Like, did somebody just lure me in? Like,
dude, I mean,
that almost worked.
The first like few months that Pokemon Go was out,
I forgot
they didn't have any
existed for a second because
they didn't have any restriction. They didn't have any restrictions on the phone, so you had people driving while playing.
Oh yeah.
They had people doing silly stuff like walking off cliffs because they weren't paying attention.
Nothing else mattered. Pokemon was
it
life.
was all
about
you counted kilometers if you were going. Even in a car,
yes,
you could
hit
great. Pokestops while in a car. You could be
doing 30. I remember that. Yeah. Just don't go over 35 and you can hit that stop.
We would literally drive in a circle around St. Charles, downtown St. Charles, and just freaking hit everything because you never had to go below a certain speed. Now they changed a lot since then. Like.
Yeah, you can't do that.
There's no more late night stuff, so you can still
Pokemon
play.
kind of disappear, and there's no raids or gym battles or anything after a certain time.
After a certain time.
I do. And
remember. You have to be doing under 15 miles an hour to get a Pokestop anymore.
You can't even ride a bike and get a Pokestop.
But I remember when I did my first late night Pokemon Go. It didn't start off as a late night Pokemon Go.
Exactly,
the sun was out when I started.
Right.
I just started walking around, and like the first part where I noticed like maybe I shouldn't be doing this was I had to pull out my flashlight so I could see the path that I was on because I'm walking through like a small patch of woods and shit. And
dude, we traveled so many weird places to try to find things.
I'm on this little path, and I got my flashlight out so I can see the path while I'm walking. And the flashlight I'm noticing is starting to dim, and I was like, oh man, I forgot to change the batteries on my flashlight. And I'm like really deep. And I look up and I see this sign that says warning, stay on path, wasp nest scenario. And I'm just like, oh no.
So
when reality comes crashing back,
I was like, I'm miles away from being able to get back to my vehicle. I'm on a random path with a dimming light and wasp nests everywhere. I am doomed.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, a Pokemon.
I remember our first
trip.
Our first trip, we were just like, oh man, this has got to be a good place to catch Pokemon. We went to Busch Wildlife. There's nothing in Busch Wildlife. We barely got signal through most of Busch Wildlife.
Right.
But in our brains, because we had no idea what the game was, Busch Wildlife would be a spectacular place to just dump a bunch of freaking wild Pokemon because it's a wildlife preserve and they want you to walk around in there.
And you remember those first couple of weeks of Pokemon Go where none of us knew what anything in the game meant. We're just like, what's with these footprints? Like, I knew what the silhouette of the Pokemon was, but everything after that, I'm like, I'm out. I don't understand.
Is it 1 kilometer? Is it 1 kilometer per footprint? Is it 10 kilometers?
None of us
how
knew.
How close actually is this Pokemon?
None of us knew how Pokemon populated and stuff, because like you said, you went to Busch Wildlife thinking, oh, it's a big open wildlife foundation, there's gonna be Pokemon there. No, because there's no people there's no Pokemon
and
there.
The thing is, for people who started playing Pokemon Go later, the beginning days of Pokemon Go, like the little Pokémon radar that you have in the bottom right hand corner, now it shows you Pokemon and what Pokestop they're near.
Right.
And you can click on it and figure out what Pokestop it is, and you can walk to it. That wasn't how it used to work. It was based on where the Pokemon was in your little radar
check.
And the footprints, and it would tell you how close it is. It didn't tell you what direction it was in. It just how close it was.
Man,
but so many times we drive in circles trying to find a Pokemon. Oh, we don't have this one. Go around here. No, dude, it went away.
I don't know what happened. We turned around and go that way. No.
Then they started coming out with those mods. Those Pokemon trackers.
No, dude. When I say Pokemon Go united like the nerd world and even some people outside of that world for like because you couldn't go on Facebook without seeing somebody even if they weren't like, oh wait, I didn't know you liked Pokemon. Probably because they didn't until this came out. But like giving tips like something I figured out when we were talking about like the footsteps and stuff like. Somebody noticed that your little icon down in the bottom, if you set one of the things on your radar to be the Pokemon you're looking for and you turn your phone like in certain areas, your icon will start pulsing when you're facing the right direction. And it took, like, nobody knew that, but like, that's what we kind of had to do in the first couple of weeks.
It was a lot of guesswork.
A lot of guesswork.
A lot of research, talking to other people. Man, and how many people?
It got everyone so social.
How many people did you talk to that you would never would have walked up to and talked to
many.
ever in your lifetime?
So many random people.
Social with random people about things.
Here's the thing: that first late night Pokemon going that I did, I decided to just keep walking until I just randomly arrived at a park. Right. I arrived at this park at like 11 at night.
And there was people there playing Pokemon.
And I'm walking around, and I was like, "Oh look, baseball fields!" And I was like jumping like on like the bleachers, and I'm just like still playing Pokemon Go. And then like people just start arriving, and I was like, "It's like 11." And people are just walking in from like all the directions, just from everywhere, and we're all just like showing up. We're all just like talking to each other and exchanging, tips and random things about the game.
What team are you? Teams were a big thing because there's three teams. It's like, what team are you? Oh yeah, you're Mystic. Great, awesome. Because I think we're all in here. We're all Mystic.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I only chose Mystic because everybody else did.
Knows.
Yeah, I chose Mystic. Because
by chance,
I feel like for me, like I was one of the first people that I knew that had picked a team. So like I didn't know who else everybody else had picked.
Right.
So I was
read the explanation.
I just read the explanation. I'm like, obviously I'm a Mystic.
Yeah,
Come on.
I had the same thing.
Right. And my ex-wife did the same thing.
Yeah.
It just happened to be the same. And then everybody else we knew just happened to pick Mystic, and we were like. We're all Mystics.
We got a whole posse.
Holy crap,
this
heck
is awesome.
Yeah. So then we would take on gyms.
We'd sweep the hell out of gyms.
We would sweep the gyms. We would go take on whatever we had to. And when they introduced the rating, like Pokemon started to die out. And then they introduced rating, and then it popped back up. And it's like rating was great.
Guess what they're doing now with Pokemon Go? Because it seems like it's kind of starting to
stagnate a little bit.
What's that?
Mega Evolutions are supposed to be coming to Pokemon Go sometime this year. One of the next major updates might be Mega Evolutions.
I could totally see that because I mean they put in Gen 5 not that long ago.
Right.
And so we're one generation
coming up on Gen 6, right?
Yeah, we're one generation away from Mega Evolutions, but they're already throwing in Galarian stuff.
Right. Well, yeah, they've been doing kind of like that extra little stuff here and there. Hey, come on, man! At least put your phone on silent.
It's on Do Not Disturb. Anyway, screw that. My phone's stupid. Anyway.
But we've talked a lot about Pokemon Go.
Right, I mean, and which is what I was going to get to, but we kind of jumped into it way early, which is okay. Because I wanted to continue talking about some of the games. Like, I didn't ask you if you ever, even though you said you didn't get to it, did you ever play Gold, Silver, and Diamond?
Sort of.
Did you play the remakes?
Crystal.
No. Okay, so what I did was when
Crystal.
They put a bunch of stuff up on the Nintendo store, right? So on my 3DS, I bought Crystal, and I started playing it. Honestly, because it's a lot of the same Gen 1 mechanics, and I have a lot of problems with Gen 1, and a lot of people do, because Gen 1 was broken.
Super broken.
Like super broken. Like things. When I say broken, I don't mean like, oh man, they set it up and it's just too overpowered in this area and too like underpowered in this area. It's like, no, a lot of it was just like programming errors.
Yeah, glitches.
Like really weird programming errors. So like they talk about through the game and in the early anime that Ghost is supposed to be super effective against Psychic. Well, someone programmed it wrong.
Nothing is super effective against Psychic, and
Bug.
Psychic is Bug is.
But there's only one attacking bug move in the whole game.
Pin miss.
Right.
And it's
really weak.
Power.
Yeah. But Ghost was also supposed to be super effective against Psychic, which it is now. But at the time, it was a programming error, and instead it was zero effect. You could not hit a Psychic Pokemon with a Ghost type attack, and even if you could have, there weren't very many Ghost
There's
type
only
attacks anyway.
3 Ghost type Pokemon, and they're all Poison type also, which means
the ghost that they tell you
to
to get to be super effective against the Psychic type gym, 1, can't do anything, and 2, the Psychics are all super effective against them because they're part Poison type.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Somebody.
So the Psychic type gym was a pain in the ass.
And then Dragons were also overpowered because Dragon was the only thing that was really super effective against Dragon. I mean, there was Ice too, but
yeah,
you couldn't.
But
you
that's
couldn't,
why. Is that
you,
why
there weren't any really Dragon type attacks? There was
Dragon Rage
was
is
so strong.
Dragonite was really strong in Gen 1, yeah. Because it was defensively good against almost everything in the game, and there were only like 2 good Ice type attacks. And they were best used on things that weren't Ice types. So Starmie was a powerhouse Pokemon because it had Blizzard, it had good defenses, and it was fast.
Right.
So Blizzard was a great attacking move, and it had great coverage. It could have Surf, it could have Blizzard, it could have Lightning Bolt, and it could have Psychic.
Yeah.
So
because it was a Psychic type.
So Starmie was a powerhouse of a Pokemon. So, like, your team, if you set it up as, like, Golem, Chansey, Starmie, Dragonite, Tauros, because Tauros was almost a staple on every single team at the time.
Right. Which is really weird, because Tauros doesn't seem like
it's got such high stab damage.
It had really good stats. It was stab with the best move in the game.
Right.
It was a really weird set of circumstances that made Gen 1 what it was.
Honestly, in Gen 1, if you had like a level 80-something Starmie with the moves that we just discussed, you could walk the entire Elite Four with that Pokemon alone.
Yeah,
and then you could take on the champion with it.
In addition to that, it could also have the move Recover. So you could just figure out which one of your stab moves you didn't, which one of your coverage moves you didn't need, take it out, replace it with Recover, and just heal yourself constantly.
Jeez.
But Tauros was really good because Hyper Beam was a huge move.
Right.
And the thing is, in Gen 1, it was another programming error. If you knocked someone out with Hyper Beam, you didn't have to do the recharge. So that whole thing where Hyper Beam being really, really strong, but you have to have one turn of recharge after, if you knocked them out, no recharge.
So you knocked them out, the next Pokemon came out,
and you would Hyper Beam again.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, and if it was something that was a huge defensive wall that you didn't think you could use Hyper Beam on and one shot, you had other really good stab options like Body Slam.
Yeah.
That you could use to paralyze. So like someone throws out their Golem and is like, oh, I don't really feel safe switching into my Starmie at the moment because Starmie was a great counter to Golem.
Right.
But you could Body Slam and hopefully paralyze it.
Right.
Interesting.
Man, yeah, Gen 1. I played Gen 1 for a really long time because of how broken it was. And that's not even mentioning all the things you can do accidentally, or if you know.
Oh right,
what you're
the actual
doing.
like glitches where you
missing no. You can get a level 100 Mew within like the first 2 gyms of the game. You can get a level 100 anything you wanted within the first 2 gens of the game if you knew how activate the glitch.
Yeah, you can have, and I've done it. You can have a level 100 Nidoking before you exit Viridian Forest.
Yep. And then
by finding it, or
you could have a
yes
level 100.
No.
You're glitching the game. There's
you're
definitely
you're playing with memory values.
Yeah, there's definitely no way if you're playing in the game normally that this would ever happen. Like, there's no circumstance that, like, because you have to do something that causes the game to glitch and make it happen. You could also
that specific one, yes, but
there's 3 different ones that I know of. 2 in Viridian Forest. You can either get a Gengar if you choose a different trainer, or you can get a Nidoking if you choose the one that you're talking about. And then the same thing with Mew in after Nugget Bridge in Cerulean Cave. There's a Slowpoke user where you can get a Mew.
3 opportunities to get Mew via the glitch.
Right.
Nugget Bridge is one of them. Another one is
I think there's one inside the rock tunnel.
Can't remember, but there is one walking that really weird underpath from the Pokemon Tower, that whole town.
Oh yeah, in between Celadon and Lavender Town.
Yeah, So when you walk under there, there's one trainer there that you can train or fly and end up getting a Mew.
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is you have to find a specific trainer that's just far enough away from your character but can still see your character and say, oh, I see you, let's battle. And then so if he's far enough away and you hit start as soon as he sees you, you can fly away or use teleport if you have an Abra, which is why the Nugget Bridge thing works. At that point, if you have the right Pokemon and you can get out of the battle even though he sees you, the game glitches and the next thing that you run into is based on a code of that trainer.
Right. Because what's happening is the game saves in its memory what's going on. You're supposed to have a battle right here, and then you reset the values based on the fact that you're not there. So when you teleport out or fly out, you arrive at a Pokemon Center. You walk back into that area. As soon as you do, the game goes, there's supposed to be a fight here, and it looks at those values and it goes, and here's the Pokemon you're supposed to fight.
And it's always a level 1. And the thing is about Gen 1, and until Gen 4, level 1 Pokemon didn't actually exist. You could never find a level 1 anything. So whenever you did have a level 1 via this glitch, as soon as you did one battle with it, it would automatically jump into level 100.
Well, the thing is, and there's a reason for that too. It's underflow experience.
Right.
So you had to fight something that gave you X number of experience or less.
Right.
And then the fact that you were a certain tier of Pokemon, so the reason why it works with Nidoking is because it's a third evolution.
Right.
And it's supposed to, gain experience at this level. It would look at what experience you're getting, it would minus out what it is to make it appropriate, and because it was such a low experience, it would be a negative number, and you would underflow to level 100 instead of going up to level 2.
Jesus.
Yeah, so you could have a level 100 Nidoking before you even get one badge.
Yeah, but you didn't have to do Trainer Fly for Nidoking. That was a whole different setup where you had to pick Bulbasaur, and you had to use its stat reducing move a certain number of times.
Yeah,
and then you had to do something else that I can't remember.
There was
I have done it.
Like you said, with whenever they released Gold and Silver and Crystal on the 3DS, I decided I'm gonna try all of those methods on a single run through of Red, and I did it. I had a fucking a decently leveled Venusaur, and then a level 100 Gengar, a level 100 Nidoking, and a level 100 Mew.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, the last time I did it,
did you?
Yeah.
I ignored the Gengar, but I got my level 100 Nidoking and just rocked through the game. And I picked up all 3 of the Mews that you can pick up via the glitch. So I had 3 Mews and a level 100 Nidoking and a Bulbasaur in a box.
Yeah. Jesus. Oh, and then the missing no glitch is interesting too.
No, but the thing is, the missing no glitch I discovered by accident. So like it was a thing, and it was a big thing that everyone knew. But I discovered it the first time by accident, and there are a lot of glitches in Gen 1 that you could definitely discover
by accident. Yeah.
Like the using a Pokédoll to run away from the ghost in Pokemon Tower, and then being able to walk through to the stairs.
Yep, because you don't need the Pokeflute anymore. You can just fucking cheat
so you're
that.
You're supposed to go get the Pokeflute, but the thing is, you can use Pokédolls to run away from battles. So if you don't want to just hit run away from the ghost that you can't hit, you can guarantee, it's like, oh no, this is a big, dangerous, scary thing. Use the Pokédoll to guarantee I can run away. And then you can walk straight through to the stairs.
Because you're not supposed to be able to fight that ghost.
Right.
Without the telescope that can help you see ghosts. So
interesting.
But the game's programming is set up so when you do the runaway, it pushes you out of that square. So you'd have to walk back to it, and you know.
Use the Pokédoll.
But if you use the Pokédoll, it doesn't push you out of the square, so you're just still there.
And you can walk right through. But yeah, so Gen 1 was super broken.
So, okay, so we've talked a little bit about Gen 3 already. So we're going to go ahead and jump to Gen 4. What are the Gen 4 games?
Okay.
Diamond and
So
Pearl.
wait, one second. The only other thing to really talk about for Gen 3 was they did a special split during Gen 3, wasn't it?
I thought it was Gen 4.
No, that was the physical special split.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
So the special split was when they separated special attack and special defense.
Yeah. So for
I believe that happened during Gen 3.
You're correct. Yeah,
and then Gen 4 is the physical special split where because they used to separate all the moves by so all the water moves were all special attack, and all the normal moves were all physical attack, which is why Hyper Beam was a physical attack, and Tauros could use it to great effect.
He had stab damage with the Hyper Beam.
So, but the physical special split was they started separating the moves by whether or not they're physical and special based on the move and not based on the type.
Right.
So that was a big thing.
So obviously Hyper Beam is a special move, not a physical move.
Right.
Right.
Because you're blasting a
And
beam.
Crunch is a physical move, not a special move.
Because you're using your freaking teeth.
Right.
So they brought logic into it in Gen 4, and then in Gen 3 is when they separated special attack and special defense. Instead of just one stat together, they became different stats themselves.
Gotcha.
But Gen 4 was Diamond and Pearl and Platinum.
And Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So Gen 2 remakes, and then
the Gen 2, okay.
Yeah.
So, big for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played through Diamond and Pearl, and I enjoyed it a lot the first time, but I didn't really get into that generation as a whole until they did the remakes of Gold and Silver, and then I got back into every single game in that generation, because I started trading between the Gold and Silver and Platinum and Pearl and Diamond and stuff, and I was making amazing ass teams. And then they had the PAL Park, is that what it was called?
Oh yeah.
Which was amazing. If you're playing Diamond and Pearl on your DS and you have Fire Red or Ruby, Sapphire,
any of the Gen 3 games.
Any of the Gen 3 games in your Game Boy cartridge, because the original DSs had Game Boy Advance cartridges where you can still play Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, they had the Game Boy Advance slot underneath. So you could there were actually other games where you could
do
mix,
stuff like that.
Mix your Game Boy Advance slot with your DS slot and get weird results.
Right. So essentially, you could transfer your Pokemon from those Gen 3 games into your Gen 4, and that was amazing because a lot of the Pokemon from those Gen 3 games now had new evolutions in Gen 4. Because I remember I transferred my freaking Elekid from Fire Red and my Magby and all that, and now I can have freaking Electivire and Magmortar and Rhyperior, and so I think my most favorited part about Gen 4 in general was just the fact that they gave really cool Pokemon already even cooler things to do with them. Because now a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon had new evolutions even before the Gen 2 remakes came out, because you can get like Yan Mega and
Gen 4 added a lot of evolutions, not even just for like Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon, but also like Gligar and Gliscor. Like they added in the evolution for Gligar in Gen 4.
Yeah,
they added in what was it, Mamoswine in Gen 4. They added in what was it, Ambipoms?
Yeah, Ambipom, Yan Mega,
yeah,
Weavile. Like, yeah,
they added in a lot of evolutions.
Even Lickitung got a freaking evolution. Like,
yeah, Licky. Yeah,
right.
That was weird.
But, and
that's just, for me, Lickitung was just a weird Pokemon to begin with,
right.
And then you give it an evolution, call it Licky.
Yeah,
like its evolution was even weirder. It was,
yeah, definitely. But, and then, I mean, I enjoyed this aspect of the game, because not only did they add these new evolutions to these Pokemon, all of them had like super, super specific ways of how you had to get them.
yes.
Like, there was like 6 new evolution methods added in Diamond and Pearl alone.
So is that when you say that methods like stones and times a day?
So let's see.
Like Gligar is a decent example, because he had to be holding a specific item.
Yep.
And be at a certain level and know a specific move.
Yeah. So Gligar,
and then when he would level up the next time, if he was holding that item and had that move, he would evolve.
Yeah. So Gligar and Sneasel both had, like, they had to hold Razor Claw for Sneasel and Razor Fang for Gligar. And they had to be like level 33, and they had to know a certain move.
Yeah.
And then once they knew that move and were at that specific level, they would evolve.
And and then there was a Pokemon that needed to know like the move Rollout.
Yeah.
And when it knew the move Rollout, it could evolve.
Yeah, and then there was like Mamoswine, I think, had to know like Ancient Power, and it would evolve, and then Apom had Double Hit, and yeah, like.
So then the Eevees.
Yeah, they had 2 new evolutions that they added where you had to go to a certain part on the map,
right,
and be near, like, there was Glaceon and Leafeon were added in that generation, so there was like
Glaceon, you had to find the Ice Rock, and then,
which was ridiculous,
because the Ice Rock in every single game that they put it in is always like near the end of the game.
Yeah, always near the end of the game.
Because Glaceon in game is a rather weak Pokemon, because it's Ice type. All Ice types are just generally kind of bad.
No secondary typing, so its defense is horrible.
Right.
And its special attack isn't that special.
Right.
And it's rather...
honestly, Grass type doesn't do that much better defensively either.
Agreed, yeah.
I mean, it's still better than Rock. But
they had very cool designs for Glaceon and Leafeon, but I think they're probably 2 of the weaker evolutions in my opinion.
In Pokemon Go, that's not so true.
Right.
In Pokemon Go, everything is kind of weak when it comes to taking hits, but it's about dealing that damage, that sweet damage,
right? And
getting those stab Ice type moves off of Glaceon can really, really help. But
definitely, yeah.
So how many? So for the evolutions, as of Gen 4. It was just the basics that they had from the beginning.
It was the 3, and then you had Espeon and Umbreon,
which was Gen 2.
Okay.
And then you had the 2 new ones from Gen 4.
And that's
so
all.
I think that's 7.
Yeah.
And then what was the next evolution they put out?
Sylveon in Gen 6, and that's all of them so far.
Okay. So that didn't come out, so I can watch. But, I love how I put on Do Not Disturb, but yet it still goes off. But, so, Gen 4, now Gen 5.
Yeah.
So, Gen 5, which games?
Black and White, and Black and White 2.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So when that came out, I didn't jump on it immediately. After 4, I was kind of like, man, there's no way they could get any better than this. for me. It was one of those points where I got jaded, and I was just like, okay, I think this is my exit. I think I'm done continuing on with the Pokemon franchise. And then I saw the starters for 5. I wasn't interested, you know. And then like a year later, I just caved and bought like White or Black or one of the two at that point, because Black and White 2 hadn't come out yet, so it was still before their sequels.
By the time we got to Gen 5, Pokemon started to stagnate.
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, Gen 5 had a lot of improvements that I really enjoyed. It was... breeding was a little easier. It had... the battle subway was fun.
Yeah, once I actually played it,
was Gen 5 when they made unlimited TMs?
Yes.
So like that was big for...
Yeah, so they added in a lot of features that were super more convenient.
Yeah, for building competitive, not having to go and like especially like having to replay the whole game for a team you only get one of.
Right.
Like that always sucked.
TMs are technical machines that teach your
so that's what it used to be was TMs were not reusable. Yeah. They were one-time use, one and dones.
Right.
And Gen 5 introduced reusable TMs.
They were permanent, basically.
Yeah, and that was way more convenient.
Right.
Because
and then the experience levels, or the rate in which you gained experience was actually really enjoyable in that game too, because it was kind of like a very realistic twist on it now, because they changed it. Instead of like a certain Pokemon gives out a certain experience based on what level they are, now they changed that to where it's going to calculate for what level the Pokemon that took it down was and how difficult it, like, so if you beat a level 50 Pokemon with a level 30, it's going to get a lot more. That level 30 is going to get a lot more experience than if he was level 50.
Took on something above its
and
level.
that was established in Gen 5 and it still exists today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gen 5 did a lot of things. A lot of people didn't really like it, and the thing is, I liked it a lot. Like the story was weird, but at the same time, the story was also basically just a group of people, all of which none of them knew what they were talking about, which which was really funny. Because the bad guys was Team Plasma, and they were just like, no more abusing Pokemon. And the way they
were abusing Pokemon.
Yeah, the way they convinced people not to abuse Pokemon was by abusing their own Pokemon and stealing other people's Pokemon.
Yeah, they were
interesting.
Yeah,
the bad guy was insane, but like the whole rest of the crew was kind of just like a...
Yeah, like it was basically like they were being led by a cult leader.
Yeah.
So you said that you weren't into it at first, but you eventually...
Once I actually played it, I caved like a year or so after the games were out, and I played through it. It was fun, because I like it. Anytime you get a new Pokemon game to play, you're gonna enjoy it. Especially me.
That's the big thing as to why I'm so excited for Gen 4 remakes, is because Gen 4, in terms of gameplay and storyline, I love. But in terms of mechanics, like you only get one TMs. And,
having those
all the super convenient things they've introduced since. I can't go back and play Platinum, even though I love it, because I can't muster up
You've been spoiled by the
I've been spoiled by all the
advancements.
Easing
That's something I can definitely say as somebody who's played Pokemon since its
the quality of life improvements.
Yeah, the improvements are fun, but they make the game so damn easy to where, like I said, I was talking to you about on the last episode when we were talking about the Isle of Armor. They straight up handed me a level 10 Pokemon on last Friday, not 2 days ago Friday, but last Friday. And that Pokemon's already level 92. Because the game's too easy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to make experience in Sword and Shield.
But a lot of games are like that too, and I'm not saying I'd like it to be more challenging, but I still enjoy that I can do it that easily and have a Pokemon completely battle ready in a short amount of time, because the actual concept and what's happening is fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, content whore.
Yes, I'm a
So
total
the
content.
content-
And the thing is, like, until they announced the DLC for Sword and Shield, I thought Sword and Shield were good games, but like at the bottom, in like the bottom half of Pokemon games, because the end game content was so sparse.
Yeah,
Like the battle tower that you have in Sword and Shield is a joke.
Yeah.
And not a good joke.
Everybody was saying, "Oh, it seems incomplete," and I won't lie. I enjoyed the hell out of Sword and Shield, and I would put it at the top now that
that's the thing. Now, once you finish the story, the actual end game content was almost non-existent. There wasn't a whole lot to do.
There was absolutely.
And then when they announced the DLC, that's when I got excited, and I was like, okay, now these games have the potential to be really, really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed.
I haven't gotten around to playing the DLCs yet, but.
But yeah, some people are still kind of saying like it doesn't make up for it. But I just read the writing on the wall, guys. All right, DLC and paying extra for the extra things that you think should come with the game is just how it works now.
Right, and that's kind of the thing is I'm not so mad. Like if they add in it just like a battle tower or a battle tree or a battle facility, something that is actually better than the one they have in Sword and Shield, that the original game
currently,
right. that alone would be worth paying a bit of extra money,
right?
And being all like, this is our definitive edition. We don't need another whole game to be released,
right? And that's anyways. Going back to like talking about Gen 5, I enjoyed Black and White, but I think it was an absolutely needless and pointless thing when they made the sequels to it.
I mean, that was their version of the definitives, and honestly, there is one good thing that I think came out of that, and it was them realizing that it was okay to put out more than one game as your definitive edition,
right.
And then in Gen 6, them using that as our definitive editions will be remakes.
Right.
Now, I am still sad that we never got a Z, because X and Y did feel rather incomplete.
Yeah.
They left a lot of plot threads open, and there was a lot of places to go.
A lot of plot
when you
threads,
say
definitely.
definitive editions.
So, like, yellow was to red and blue. That was their definitive
Crystal.
edition. It was an update to the mechanics. It was a little bit of improvement. They added in some extra Pokemon, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, Gold and Silver, their definitive edition was Crystal. And then Emerald was Ruby and Sapphire's definitive edition, and then Platinum was Diamond and Pearls.
Right.
Black and White's definitive editions was Black and White 2.
So they just kind of completed a little bit of a story, added a little bit of mechanics.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
so X and Y, which we'll go ahead and go into 6.
Yeah.
Right, that's fine. Yeah.
Whatever. 6th generation, Gen 6, which is X and Y, and then
Omega Ruby,
and Alpha Sapphire.
Right.
They didn't put a definitive edition, and you guys want one.
Well, we did at that time.
And the thing is, I still want one. I've basically come to terms with the fact that we're not going to get a definitive edition until they do Gen 6 remakes.
Yeah. Which we don't know how long that could take.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while, and that's when they're gonna end up filling in all that stuff and fixing and completing all those storylines that never got finished.
Right. But Gen 6, other than the
Gen 6 was
the plot lines that kind of just got left.
Yeah, Gen 6
was a big deal though.
Gen 6 was great, except they left like half the game open for their definitive edition that they never came out with.
Because it definitely, everybody was thinking, okay, there's definitely going to be one.
Right. There's so much left open. There's so many plot threads that aren't tied up. There's so many loose ends. There has to be a definitive edition, and they even have you can see like the deep dives of people who look through like the code and stuff.
There's
unused Pokemon. There's was it his Flabébé or whatever?
Yeah.
They had his version of Flabébé from the story that you could get.
Right.
But it was never used. And that was a very obvious
there
thing that you were going to go through a
of,
storyline to get that Flabébé.
In Gen 6, there was a lot more... There was a huge competitive boom, too. So there was a lot of people that were getting, hacked versions of it to where they ended up with those unused Pokemon in the game and then in the story, in the Flabébé, and, so there was a lot of that because... people found out, hey, there's a lot more that's supposed to be done here. Because I remember I replayed X and Y like a year and a half to 2 years after it first got released, and I hopped into the competitive scene for a minute, and I started seeing all this stuff.
Yeah.
That it's because it seemed like there was it was incomplete. There was still stuff to do.
Right.
So,
but as a generation as a whole. They changed the graphics.
Oh, yeah.
They changed the age of the main character.
Well, they changed the age of the main character back.
Yeah.
Because Gen 5, they changed the age of the main character from, 11 to 16?
Yeah.
So, because it was the Unova region. In the Unova region, which is supposed to be America, they don't just let children wander around in the wild and fight monsters.
Right.
They wait until you're of driving age. Before they send you out in the wild to go fight monsters.
Interesting.
So that was a bit of a difference. And then
I didn't know that the Unova region was North America.
You can tell.
It was supposed to be specifically the United States.
Yeah, the United States.
Right. Well, either way, I didn't realize they had done one because I know the first
gens 1 through 4 are different places of Japan.
Right. So I knew that, and they were all different islands because Japan's a bunch of different islands. So
well, not even just islands. There's Kanto is just one section of the main island of Japan.
Yeah. Johto being right next to it is basically Kyoto, Japan. Yeah.
So it's the main island of Japan they broke up into a couple, and then they had a couple islands.
Yeah, basically.
And then Unova had a slightly bigger map, and then it had very, very obvious New York allegory.
Yeah.
Very obvious, Golden Gate Bridge allegory.
Yeah, there's some
very obvious Old West allegory.
Yeah, and then looking at X and Y is obviously France.
France, yeah. They made no secret of that. That was France.
And then Sword and Shield, you can even just look at the name and you know what that means.
Yeah, that's Hawaii.
No. Sun and Moon are in Hawaii. Sun and Moon are Hawaii.
Sword and
Shield is England.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it was.
It's like you can look at the map for Sword and Shield, and it's like, well, okay, it's just one giant looking Long Island thing. I wonder what that could be.
Right.
If you turn an actual map of England upside down, it looks exactly like the map from Sword and Shield.
You can even go. There's a huge ass part of the wild area that it just blares bagpipes. It's like, okay, clearly there's Stonehenge right over there. Look at it,
Yeah, that whole town that's just filled with little Stonehenges.
Yeah, okay, this is Scotland.
I think we're in Scotland here, guys.
Right.
But that's the one thing. The other thing about Pokemon is that regionally they did a good job of picking good regions to put you in that emulated real life countries. Yeah. United States, England, France, Japan, Hawaii.
Yeah.
So, what Gen 6 did that really stood out for me that made me enjoy Gen 6, other than just the Mega Evolution, was just so they introduced new Pokemon that I really enjoyed, and then they revamped old Pokemon, and I really enjoyed that too.
They changed,
and that's what I didn't like about Black and White, is because it was sandwiched right in between two games that did that, which is what I love, is Diamond and Pearl and Platinum and Heart Gold and Soul Silver introduced new Pokemon and revamped other Pokemon in a way that made both of them enjoyable.
That was actually
Black and White only introduced new Pokemon, and I didn't really enjoy a lot of the
Black
new
and White
Pokemon.
was a soft reset for Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, when you play through Black and White 1, initially, there are no old Pokemon.
Yep.
Not a single one. It is like 154 brand new Pokemon.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the most new Pokemon like ever introduced in a game or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just all it is just all the new Pokemon. When you beat the Elite Four the first time, then some old Pokemon start showing up.
You always get the national decks after the.
So once you got the national decks, then old Pokemon starts showing up. But until then, it was just new Pokemon.
And that's when the post game for Black and White was fun.
Yeah,
I
spent a lot of time.
That's what I enjoyed the most about Black and White was the post game. You could battle Cynthia, who's the champion from the previous generation.
Yeah,
super
that was
hard
so much fun.
and enjoyable battle. And there was like a handful of new Pokemon that they introduced that I enjoyed, but there really wasn't a lot for that generation that I enjoyed.
Considering they dumped 150 some odd new Pokemon in there.
I enjoyed a lot of the new Pokemon, but you can tell that a lot of them are kind of recycled ideas from Gen 1, because like I said, it's supposed to be a soft reset.
Right.
So, like, people give, like, Garbodor so much crap. And there's, like, it's literally a pile of garbage. And it's like, yeah, and it's supposed to be based off of muck, which is literally a pile of sludge.
Yeah, and then...
Come on now, guys.
Yeah,
this isn't hard.
Right. Well, and then you got, there's, Kling Klang, which is just... Obviously, this is not electric Magnemite.
Right. And it has a bunch of electric moves anyway.
Yeah, so
it's a set of gears.
Yeah.
What's Magnemite? Set of magnets. These are basically 1-to-1 correlations, people.
Right.
I mean,
even the fossils.
This is not difficult. Yeah.
One of them's Archeops, which is just a little bit more of a prehistoric, like a colorful Aerodactyl, and then the other one's a turtle.
Right.
Water and rock, just like the other two fossils from Gen 1. Water and rock.
It was not hard to figure out that this is basically just Gen 1 all over again.
My biggest complaint is the starters.
And the thing is...
Oshawott alright.
Oshawott's alright, and in terms of going through the game, if you want to keep your starter on your team, he's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Well... the looks of Oshawott fully
evolved
is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I like Samurott. And like I said, in terms of if you're going to keep your starter on your team, he's probably one of the better ones.
I used Oshawott, yeah.
The Emboar or whatever is really dumb. I don't like it.
Because it's the same fire starter we got. That was the third firefighting starter we got in a row.
And it's the worst one.
Of the the worst of the three.
Because it had like almost no good fighting moves, and it was physical, like it was high physical stat with no physical fire moves.
Yeah, it had all special fire moves and like really lame fighting.
Like, I think its best physical fire move was Fire Punch. It would like base power 65. Really dumb, really bad. Its moveset was awful. The Grass type starter is trash if you use it in game, but if you can get if you can get the hidden ability version of it, it's suddenly the best one.
Yeah.
Because the hidden ability version of the Grass starter is contrary. So every time that its stats would get lowered, instead they get raised. And anytime they would get raised, instead they get lowered. And it gets Leaf Storm, which gives you a -2 special attack after you do the move. So it's this big, huge move, and then you get +2 special attack. And big, huge move, and another +2 special attack. And it just builds, and you're just this giant wall of just crush your face.
Yeah. So the first time I played through Black and White, I chose Snivy because I I didn't bother really to do a lot of research before it like I
Mm-hmm.
usually do for Pokemon games on that one because I kind of just bought it on a whim. And I thought that it was going to be a grass and dragon type.
Right.
Because that's
And
what
the thing
somebody
is,
told me.
Its stats were very, very balanced, and that's just not very good.
Yeah,
like
for a single type starter Pokemon,
right. It was very balanced, but
it
the thing
was
is,
just grass all the way through. No secondary type.
Once you threw contrary on it, it didn't matter that it was balanced because suddenly you're making up for that balanced special attack stat.
Right.
And it's just, it's just gonna go great.
Right.
But other than that, there were some good Pokemon in Gen 5.
There was a lot of
I like their
typing.
dragons, Haxorus and.
There was a lot of redundant typing. That was the most, they gave us so many dark and dragon types and a lot of fighting types in that game.
Yeah, but I love Scrafty. Scrafty's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And as much as I say that, I still pretty much enjoyed almost every single one of those redundant as types because Druddigon is an enjoyable character. Or enjoyable Pokemon. I really liked Hydreigon because it was a dark and dragon, which, amazing.
Haxorus.
Bisharp was actually my number one Pokemon.
Bisharp was so weird because that was the first Pokemon that I really looked at and went, "Are you sure you're a Pokemon?"
Yeah.
Because it looks like something you would see in Ultraman.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, for sure. But it had a super, super weak defense. Like if you put it up against a fighting type, you were probably screwed because it's steel and dark. But
yeah.
I loved that Pokemon. It was my number one because I ditched my starter after a while. Because like I said, I had Snivy and I'm like, I'm out. This thing sucks, so I put it in the box. But I did the same thing for Sword and Shield too. I don't even have a starter type on my team.
Yeah. Well, as I say, we can move on to the next gen. I mean, we're getting kind of long here. But
Gen 6 again, like we said, it had a bunch of stuff that it needed to tie up, but the definitive editions, ORAS, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, were phenomenal.
Freaking awesome. Yeah.
So they were way better.
They were so good.
But they're
Story-wise,
just
they
remakes.
fucking
They're
killed it, for
remakes
sure.
of
Gen
Ruby
3.
and Sapphire.
Yeah, so they're remakes of Gen 3, but they're
with the new mechanics.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they're amazing, and that's the whole thing. Is like the reason why X and Y disappoint me isn't because they're bad; it's because there's so much more good stuff that you can see that should have been there.
Yeah,
And then you see a lot of that in
And then you get
Omega.
You get Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire,
Well-
which is an updated Gen 3.
Well,
and they take all those good things that you got out of X and Y, and they put them in Ruby and Sapphire.
and one of the best things that X and Y did was they gave you a freaking Torchic for free that had Blaziken's Mega Evolved special ability already equipped, which was Speed Boost.
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
So by the time ORAS had their remakes, everybody already knew if you get Blaziken, your Speed Boost is amazing. But then they were like, oh wait, just by the way, we also made Mega Evolutions for the other two starters, and they're also amazing.
Yes.
You know, it didn't matter which starter you picked, and whether you're playing Ruby and Sapphire or Omega Ruby and Omega Sapphire, the three starters, that's one of my favorite gens as far as starters go.
What were the starters for that one?
Sceptile, Blaziken, and Swampert, or Trico, Mudkip, and Torchic.
Yeah, Mudkip is great. I love Swampert.
Oh my
Swampert's
god,
so
Mega
good.
Swampert is.
I remember
insane.
that was a big Pokemon Go community day.
Oh yeah, that
The
Pokemon Go
Mudkip.
community day was amazing.
Mudkip is a very universally loved Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think there's not a lot of people that don't.
And the thing is, I still run my community day Swampert on a lot of my battle teams in Pokemon Go because it's so good.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I have one of the perfect Swamperts.
nice.
Ugh.
Like fully from Community Day.
All right, so are we gonna jump into another episode, or are we gonna
actually,
cap it
we're
here?
gonna go ahead and move because there's another generation, isn't there?
Gen 7, yeah.
Oh, we talked somewhat about 8 in the last one, so we really don't have to spend a lot of time on that. But
So
I don't have a whole lot to say about Gen 7. I did, just like Gen 5. I feel like it's.
Which one is Gen 7?
Gen 7
Sun
is
and
Sun and
Moon.
Moon.
Okay.
Gen 7, I like. It had a lot of good things about it. It tried to change a lot of the formula of Pokemon, and in some ways I think it did okay. And in some ways I think it didn't do so well. But the cast of characters that are in Sun and Moon are really delightful, and I really like the, moving around the islands and interacting with all the characters. And Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon I thought were really fun, and running through all the wormholes and stuff was great.
Okay. So, I mean, like I said, we are running long. We could also just run a whole new later on. In a few months, we can come back to Pokemon.
Right.
Yeah, there's always more to talk about. With
Yeah, I mean, with the new games coming out, we'll get release dates for Snap and Unite.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's a pretty good chance that when these games have to actually come out, that you'll get, our opinions on them
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Not mine, theirs. But I might piddle around with Snap, but I don't own a Switch, so
Right.
I probably won't play it too much, but I will know people that have it, and I'll probably piddle. So
You probably,
with
you probably
that-
just heard a random thing spike the volume. That's some random jerk on a motorcycle.
Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and end this. I know there's a lot we didn't talk about. I know there's a lot more we can talk about. So for those who do listen and are very into Pokemon, please
Give us that feedback.
comment something, and we'll do our best to
Address
it. Then maybe the next episode we do Pokemon. So Pokemon's one of those things that's well loved all over.
Yeah.
People got into it with Pokemon Go. People were into it from the beginning, like 2 people in this room. So Pokemon's a well-loved subject, so please give us some other things that you want to hear us talk about. Maybe a certain storyline or a story arc from the series, or a Pokemon that you want to discuss in depth. They can probably do that.
Like certain things, like I think it would be really cool to do like an episode where we talk about like maybe our favorite types of
Right.
Pokemon, like
'Cause-
because I have some favorites for sure.
Yeah. Maybe best teams, best ways to set up teams, maybe the best way to evolve a character or evolve a Pokemon,
Right.
or what to do, move sets and stuff like that. So anything like that you want to hear us talk about, please comment and let us know. But with that, I'm going to say talk at you later.
Bye.
All right, rock and roll.